Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to day 2 of the playoffs for the North American Challengers Tournament Fall Season 2024. Yesterday we saw some absolute blowouts, so if these teams are going to come and play, today is the day that they have to do it because 2 teams are going home today. On the casting desk, we've got Stephweezy and Trex, the pride of North America. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling excited, man. We survived another hurricane, just to throw that out there. And here we are to this is the last day before Grand Finals, as you said, man. 2 teams go home, 2 teams stay. Everything is on the line today, and I think we got some great games ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully we survived the hurricane to be able to witness these matches today, and I'm right there with you. It's going to be exciting to see which teams move on forward to that grand final position, but it's going to be bittersweet to say goodbye to 2 teams.
So, Trex, let's take a quick look at the format. We've been having the Swiss round standings. How do you think that this has been going so far?
I mean, the Swiss rounds was a nice switch up. It was refreshing. It was a lot of fun to watch, and that brought us essentially into the playoffs that we have now. The big difference was, we just had 4 teams make it through, so things were a little bit tighter when we looked at the points. There was some last moment games that decided for Godspeed to get to that number 4 spot. Very exciting.
Yeah, as we know, all these teams were battling for points. It's the first time we've ever implemented this system. 4 teams moving forward: Cloud9, Godspeed, BTK, and Gosu Horde. Yesterday was full of excitement as well. We got to see Cloud9 and BTK stampede through both 3-0 sweeps against Godspeed and Gosu Horde, securing a spot in the semifinals and knocking those 2 teams down to the lower bracket.
Actually, I'm really excited for today's schedule. We're about to see what it is. We're going to have the Cloud9 versus BTK first matchup, and then going straight into the Godspeed versus Gosu Horde matchup. Both matchups, both starting matchups, are going to be super critical for these teams to be playing at the best of their capability, because whoever loses this first match is going to have to go against the winner of the second one, so they have to be ready.
Yeah, I think, and we get the fated rematch, right? We get the fated rematch between BTK and Cloud9. We then move on to decide on who's going to be 4th place in all of this, Godspeed versus Horde, and I think that is going to be a really interesting and great matchup as well.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was full of sweeps, and hopefully today we can see these matches go the distance. The upper bracket is still going to be a best of 5, so can't wait to see which way that goes. But the lower bracket, there's not too much insurance there, as it is going to be a best of 3.
But we got to keep the prize of all of this at the end of our eyes. The prize pool, $25,600, one of the largest prize pools that we've seen, in conjunction with the 1.5 million diamonds. We've been talking about it all NACT. This is one of the only NACTs that we've had where everybody, even people who just get to the qualifying rounds of NACT, get to walk away with something. But as we come to the end of it, who is going to get what on top of their bragging rights, on top of a trip to M6?
Yeah, I mean, everything has been boiling down to these moments right now. Finals, winner gets a ticket to M6, the biggest talent pool and viewer participation ever. I mean, it's definitely, I don't know, I feel like every year the stakes have gotten a little bit higher for NA. Every year we've gotten a few more players that have entered into the fray, a few more teams that have entered into the fray. And with M6 kind of going back to the original battlegrounds of Malaysia, again, it just kind of adds even more hype onto all of this.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look forward to, and not to mention all the restreamers out there who are watching the games and showcasing it to the world as well. Thank you so much for you guys tuning into the NACT. We just blinked and we're already here, a step away from getting into the grand finals today, to be able to see what 2 teams will fight it out and flip that coin.
Be careful with your blinking, because if you blink too much, you might miss this. It's giveaway time. Oh boy, let's see what we got. A QR code for you to scan, because we've got limited draws for this Vanguard Elite Bruno skin. Once you get into the game, you're going to have to put in this code listed right up here. Again, you're going to have to be fast because they are limited.
Yeah, I like us when you know the code is exactly what it's going to give you. A lot of times we'll see them and it'll be like 12 different possibilities. This time for all the Bruno players, you know exactly what you're getting.
Well, I'm a little disappointed though. We didn't get Zeke's translation for the code.
Yeah, can you hit us with that one?
Yeah, what's the pronunciation?
That's the V257 one.
Oh, that was actually
official.
Very impressive.
That was good.
That's the official. That's sponsored. but I am very excited for this. Good skins, good prize pool, good diamond prize pools. Again, we're seeing a NACT evolve into a larger scene every single year, and I'm super excited about that. And as well as that, I love the fact that each of these teams that we see, a lot of them are the same players from NACT to NACT, but we consistently see a lot of new rising players and new rising teams that are always managed to get into these top 3, top 4, and make those names for themselves.
I mean, let's be real. For the first, from M3 to M4, it felt like there was maybe, people would tell you there's probably about 5 to 8 top players. Now we're at a point where there's 10, maybe even 11. And even some of these players on the, on the 3rd or 4th place teams have at least won NACT Grand Finals before. You have players like Yato, Baj, who have been champions before. Players who didn't even make it here who have been champions before. So it definitely feels like the NACT overall and player pool and how good everyone is getting has definitely expanded.
Yeah, and these players are making their own name and trying to create household names, and that's what I'm super excited about. As we are talking about the lineups, though, we're definitely going to see who's going to be facing off for our first series, and there it is, Cloud9 in the building. We know they're camping over there in GD Ico's house, ready to go the distance. We've got Nats in the XP lane, best player in the jungle, Marcuti repping the mid lane, Cold World as the roamer, and Basic in the gold position.
Yeah, and I mean, we all know Basic, we all know. It definitely looks strong. I feel like, we know Best Player, we know Nats, we know Basic, and we've gotten to know Mark Cutie and Cold World a lot more. And I think as this team moves forward, it's really cementing on, are these the new faces, right? Like, are these the best players we have in NA, or is it still going to be BTK?
Trex, what can you tell us about the BTK team lineup?
I mean, it's the boys, right? It's the a lot of the fan favorites. No matter how many times they lose, the percentages seem to always go to their favor here. These are 5 faces so many people have known to grow and love. And they've just made statements back to back. Even when they lose, they're able to pull off crazy wins. So I can never really count them out.
It's funny. If there was a Mount Rushmore for Mobile Legends North America, these would probably be some of the faces on it. That's just how popular they are with our region and how much of an impact they've had across the land of Dawn. I mean, I don't think there's a player out there who doesn't know any one of these players.
Something I really wanted to make a point about earlier was, I think that it's super cool. This season, we got to do some of the fun facts where people got to show off and talk about some of their different favorite players. And these are some of those players that people were idolizing, Mobazane, Shark. Earlier in NACT, we saw Joybosh. I think it's just so cool to just see some of these fan favorites and other player favorites just going head to head, especially in another season breakdown.
Yeah, I think it's always nice to see the eventual toss-up, a couple players getting switched into teams, some slight roster changes, but in the end, so many of these players have gotten to know each other so well, just like what we saw last week with the Baj versus Zane, him just hunting down Zane throughout the whole 5 series, and it just, to anyone that's been watching NACT for a while, you get a little bit of, you get some joy out of the way that some of these players play against each other.
Yeah, and with the new teams that are forming, such as a new BTK forming, some would say it's the best BTK they've seen in a while, that a lot of people have been waiting to watch. But then also Cloud9 looking as strong as ever. We got to see their domination in their previous series yesterday. So I got to know, Zeke, who are you voting for this upcoming series?
So let's get to the screen. Me personally, I had to put the vote in for Cloud9. BTK has been looking strong, but we've seen them making a little bit more mistakes and a few more hiccups throughout the regular season. And although we are in the playoffs, so far we have seen Cloud9 ready to play every single game, including in a complete blowout against BTK in the regular season.
I mean, definitely a blowout against BTK. You are right about that. But at the same time, we can never really count BTK out. There's always a playoffs buff. Not to mention as well, we know a lot of the players have now gotten together. They're also housing up. So I definitely think these are the 2 teams that we have to have our eyes out for. But right now, I can't seem to stray away from the BTK in me.
You know, for me, like I mentioned, Cloud9, they're boot camping on the street I grew up on. Me and G the Ico were actually neighbors for a long time, so it's kind of hits the heart to have to kind of vote for them. But I am in agreement with you. BTK does have a playoffs buff. We've seen it time and time again. Maybe I save that vote for the Grand Finals if they're able to make it there. But yeah, I'm going to go for Cloud9 on this one. So it looks like me and Trex will be on the opposite side of the table, and it'll be an interesting series to cast out.
So look me in the eyes when I say all of North America is pretty much BTK. We see a lot of these BTK players in the past spread to some of these other now top teams. To see them competing back and forth, I think it's safe to say that no matter who wins this match, it's probably BTK. At some point, it's been BTK.
I mean, I don't know. I do think, because yes, some of these players have filtered into BTK, but they were a lot of them were part of well-known teams before they ever joined BTK. Basic, for example, was the Valley, and honestly, when he first played with Zane came over to the Valley before Basic came over to BTK, right? So I think no matter what, some of the people we know will win, but also like I said before, we have a lot of new faces. We have Mark Cutie, ex Area 77 gold laner. We have Cole World, Simpsons player from before. We have, I think right now, Cloud9 is honestly this, they've thrown together these players. You have Nats from RSG, you have Basic, but maybe it could be the magic solution to whereas can that, new team essentially beat BTK, the original 5-man, except for Hoon that have been, it's like, can they overcome that? And I don't know like who to really paint as the villain here or who is the triumphant one, but either way, I definitely think it's going to be great.
Well, it's kind of crazy because I used to say there was a coin and it'd be flipped. One side of that coin was Hoon, the other side was mobilelegendsgame, but now they're on the same team again. So now there's going to be a new face on the other side of that coin. Maybe that's going to be Basic spearheading the way for Cloud9. But you got to love to see it. Trex kind of made the point. BTK is a team that is known to have the playoffs buff and able to come alive. You've seen Zane not only do it once, he's done it twice. And that was definitely a sight to see in the spring season. So hopefully he can get that fall season buff as well. But on the side of Basic, you got to remember back in the day with BTK going up against Avalon in the fall season for last year, he was the one that upset BTK and knocked him out of the Grand Finals position. So I think both sides have secret weapons, and it's just going to be on who can execute it a little bit better. But what I'm excited about is to see it go the distance, and I hope it can go all the way to a game number 5.
Well, go the distance is the question for who it's going to be. The draft is ready, so I'm going to let you two take over. Let's see some good matchups.
All right, Weezy back again. Cloud9 up against BTK. This time it is a straight up best of 5. No, 4 matches, 4 points. This goes all the way. This is upper bracket. This game decides who's going to be the first one to slot into the Grand Finals.
Yeah, this is one for the books. This is history in the making. Everybody placing their predictions, but only one team will be earning their spot in the Grand Finals, and the other one will be knocked down to the lower bracket. Let's kind of paint the picture on what we've seen. When they faced off a little bit earlier, I'd guess yesterday, matter of fact, we got to see Cloud9 and BTK fight it out, and it ended in a 3-1. We got to see, the last time they faced it ended in a 3-1. We got to see the Nats prediction work in his favor. Me and you actually got to cast that together. It was a lot of executed plays from the side of Cloud9 that just kind of worked in their favor. BTK, there was times when they were ahead in the game, but they just were not able to close it out, and a little bittersweet for them, but this is their chance for redemption.
Yeah, and look right now at the bans already. A lot of target bans on the board from both sides. Both sides respecting the enemy jungler. There's that Suyo ban. So obviously C9 thinks that mobilelegends going to be able to pull it off well. We were wondering how it was going to play out. Alpha ban, Fanny and Ling, and the Valentina for Mark Cutie on the side of BTK. But they give up the chip for that, and we don't get to see the chip a whole lot. Normally it's on the ban table, but maybe BTK feels like, I think we can handle this. I think we have an answer for this. But it is definitely, probably across the board globally in all leagues, is the most banned hero out there right now. So it should definitely speak volumes.
Yeah, it can definitely be a problem. Zane quick to pick up that Julian, though. Can't limit all his junglers. Now, I do like what Cloud9 did there, but there's still some answers from BTK to be able to still make this work in their favor. So far, the draft is looking good for both sides. The Jushin has been locked in for Cloud9 as well. It's going to have a lot of pressure in the mid game, or mid lane. It's going to have a lot of early pressure to not allow the side of BTK to invade. We are looking at the Ruby picked up by Basic, should be slotted in the gold position. We'll have to see how Zia kind of responds to that. We've been seeing Zia showcase so many marksmen this NACT fall season. We've seen the Wan, we've seen the carry. Even with this carry in yesterday's performances, it worked out really well. So today, hopefully we can get that same level of competition. The Gatot has been interesting as well. It's been a very high prioritized hero. We get to see it flex in the XP lane and also flex inside of the roam position as well. And right now, BTK can do either or. Right now, we're looking at two teams with high level drafting. There goes that carry that we mentioned over there from Zia as well. A possible answer for Basic on the Ruby.
Yeah, good answer for Basic. Maybe a little bit dangerous because just how close it is, but also a good answer for Chip. I do really like that Ruby pick slotted up. I think it'll be a good answer to the Julian. You can catch him if Mobizane's a little bit too slow at any point. You're going to get stuck in place for a second. Same thing with the Gatot. It wants to jump in and wants to try to get these taunts, but the Ruby is going to be able to lock it up. Here goes some more jungle bans, though, from BTK. The Hayabusa off the field, and I'm wondering if C9 may pay the price here for not slotting in best player early. Slowly running out of options. I got a feeling the Nolan could definitely get banned out next, and that just doesn't leave a whole lot for C9 here, right? There goes the E ban, though, from C9. I wonder, do they just also keep hammering in, maybe take out the Louis here? Something along those lines, maybe the Vex. Something to kind of focus down onto Hoon.
Yeah, they can pull out the Bane, though. Still another jungler sneaking out there. I wonder if BTK can sniff this one out and ban it, or are they going to allow Cloud9 to be able to pick that up? Yeah, they are definitely limiting the hero pool over there from best player. We are going to see that Khalid ban, though. It's been such a threat inside of the XP lane. We've seen a couple of answers to it, though. We've seen, it's kind of surprising. I would feel like Chicken would be able to respond appropriately up against the Khalid. We've seen the CC be a possible counter up against it, but looks like, hey, they don't even want to give them the opportunity. There goes the Faramis ban to finalize the bans for both sides. Cloud9 will take that out for the sustainability portion, taking that away from BTK. Now, the question is, how are we going to respond? What are we going to put inside of the XP lane for the side of BTK, right? Chicken, without having the Khalid, there's still a couple of options on the table. We've seen the Arlot is definitely super valuable, as the Edith has not been banned out, so the Edith is definitely up for the taking as well, to be a possible option. There's just a lot on the board. That's why I love the meta so far with this NACT fall season. Just when you think it's going to go in one way, it goes the other.
I think they go mage here, give White Chicken the counterplay on the Nats, so they lock in the Vex, and now White Chicken at least has some space. With the Khalid gone, like you said, there's the Arlot, the Edith, still a few picks. They could still flex this Ruby into the EXP lane if they want. Plenty of options, still a lot of flexibility, but it gives Chicken some pivot room here as the last pick. I think it's a smart move. C9, on the other hand, it could still slot in a gold laner, still need a jungler, or they need an EXP laner, depending on how they want to flex things around here. Do they just lock in the Nolan for best player here? I think that could end up really being the answer. But again, we'll see. C9 not scared to, never scared really to like break any boundaries at all or try something different. It's still game one. They could definitely surprise us here, I feel like.
I would say maybe the Nolan and the Arlot could be a pickup. But they're going to go ahead and do the Nolan. Oh, so this is going to be that Ruby Flex. Yeah, it's going to be XP lane Ruby Flex, which is three-dimensional drafting. That's what we kind of say. You got to expect the unexpected, and when you have a hero that can go into multiple lanes, it just showcases the value when it comes to this level of drafting. There goes that Nolan, though. I mean, best player, a checkmate from BTK. It's kind of like they were waiting for this pickup, right? They forced best player's hand on that Nolan, so I'm expecting them to have an answer. We know BTK is a team that thrives when Mobizane is able to farm inside of the jungle, and so far with the draft that we're seeing, I don't expect them to be too aggressive. And I guess you do have the Nolan, so he can definitely get to the side lanes and get some burst potential, but it's not as good as a Ling. It's not as good as a Hayabusa, at least not as mobile as both. So that could be something that works for Zane when he's trying to get these objectives. And what better way to do it than to have a Tigro by your side to be able to force a team out and get some possible setups.
Okay, so the big flex also comes from BTK here, though. They bring the Gata into the EXP lane for Fried Chicken, lock in the Tigreal for Shark, which at first I was like, but honestly, I think with the type of gameplay that BTK likes to bring, having two strong frontliners, two tanky boys to hold down their formation is exactly what BTK wants. It gives Zia a nice box to play in. They also get the Eternal Guardian stiff arm effect from Hoon, and Mobazane and Zia can kind of just move around safely to be able to attack the way they want it. The big worry from Cloud9 here, the big possibility, the big wild card is going to be this chip. I just feel like there is a lot of wham bam pressure from that right now. You know, Cold World pops up and in comes Nats, in comes the best player, in comes the Demon Force from Basic, and you can immediately get locked up, you can immediately get burst damage down. There is definitely some surprise effect from the side of C9 here.
And speaking of surprises, ladies and gentlemen, we are now jumping in to the upper bracket finals. Cloud9 and the Bloodthirsty Kings ready to fight it out in a best of 5.
What do we think? Game, late game, break it down for us.
All right, so we are looking at Basic running on this Harith going up against Zia on the carry. Time and time again, we used to see the Harith actually picked up as a counter to the carry, and this could be possibly why Basic did slot it. So Zia is going to have to play a little bit safer. Zia's not as mobile neither, but we know that's a comfort pick that he thrives on. Definitely one of the keys to victory is going to be focusing on getting that ADC to those core items as soon as possible. For BTK, it's going to start with Mobazane being able to get his objectives, being able to get his buffs, and also these turtles. We know when BTK gets these turtles, they're able to scale a lot better. And if they can deny Cloud9 the early phase, they may be able to go for that early finish like we've seen in yesterday's matches when they were going up against Gosu and Horde. But they have to watch out with Cloud9, especially because Shark is running on this Tig. He can be very aggressive. He can deny the invasion plays from Cloud9 if they do want to try and go in, delay Mobazane from his normal farm rotation.
Yeah, I mean, BTK has been known to at least do pretty well in some of these skirmishes. Last time Cloud9, I think, really beat them in the macro game, really beat them in map control. Something else to point out is Zia does go for the Flicker here, right, instead of the Purify, which I think early game might be a little more helpful. When we creep into, mid to late game, it could be scary. I think Flicker might be the more aggressive skill here. Be able to chase a bit more, be able to reposition more. But if that Ruby locks on at any point, it is going to be scary. It could be checkmate for Zia. So he's really got to play. He's got to bring out his mechanical prowess using that Flicker.
And they are going to have to watch out for this chip. You kind of mentioned what impact it has.
Nice, I'm offended. Does lock on. The Lantern Flare pulls Shark in. He might not be able to get away from this. Force use second skill just to get away, actually. Nat still holding the front side. Mobazane trying to find a way to this turtle, but Cloud9 not rushing it at all. They're going to back away. Best player still not there. As we do see Nat start to kind of, keep vision on it, but BTK also taking their time as well.
Yeah, now best player is going to rotate to it, try and make the advantage with the separation. Zane not in distance for a retribution play. Does he go for it?
Eternal Guardian does come down. Turtle goes to the side of Cloud9, and everybody just disengages. We saw. Oh, wait a second to the boss side. Zia with the first blood up against Basic. 1v1. Well played.
Well, that's a trade, right? Even though they were not able to. Oh, Shark!
Shark has to use the Flicker to get away. All right, we're 3 minutes in, Weezy. Already kill, a couple almost kills after that.
Yeah, good trade, though, on that turtle with the 1v1 matchup. Zia able to take down Basic. The hair is supposed to technically be the counter, but it's not looking like that's the story today. We know Zia's very comfortable, already picking up that crossbow to work in his favor. You need to be careful, right? It's a ticking time bomb when you have a carry who's scaling, especially this early. Not able to get that turtle, though, is going to hurt BTK just a little bit, and it's a good objective from the side of Cloud9. But look at Mobazane, look at Shark. Yeah. They want to continue to put that pressure in the gold lane. They want to build upon that. If they can delay Basic and shut him down even further, it can help them toward that mid game.
The implosion does land on to Basic, and he's taken out again. That's 0-2. Nats tries to come in, gets a nice, I'm offended, and Mobazane taken out. It's chaos for the side of BTK. Shark just trying to get away, but Nats finds the kill. Another big I'm offended onto Fried Chicken, pulled back in. Fried Chicken just trying to walk away. Fried Chicken looking for anything, but he does not make it. Nats gets the kill, and now Zia also in a bad spot up against the wall. Able to get a nice shot onto Marcuti, finds it, but best player responds back. It's a couple 1-2 shots from both teams, but Cloud9 comes out on top.
All right, so we're trading blows. A 2-for-1 trade right there. Still going to work for Cloud9. Able to take down Zia. Makes up for Basic falling super early. But Basic, he has 2 deaths already, so he needs to be careful. 4-3 on the scoreboard. Currently looking at almost a 2K gold lead in favor for the side of Cloud9. We got to see them also be able to take that first turtle. Here goes that play, though. It looked like BTK was in control, but then you start looking at members of Cloud9 rotate down. Look at Cold World quickly getting there. A good punish, but the I'm offended play is what really shines there from Nats to keep Zane in position and to be able to shut him down. Shark falling right beside him right there in that engagement.
Yeah, I mean, and then the teleport, right? The shortcut that brings everyone in. BTK would have been able to get away safely, but that shortcut from the chip, like I said, is going to be a wild card, and BTK has to watch out for it. Here comes another shortcut. A lot of damage onto Zia, brought down to about 10%. Zia tries to flicker away, unable to make it. Basic gets the kill, and now another I'm offended comes in from Nats, locked on, brings down Fried Chicken, and BTK lose 2 members.
2 members falling for BTK. Need to be careful now. A 6-3 lead. 2 turtles as well on the side of Cloud9. They are climbing in this economy. Now up by 2,000 gold. Highest kills in the game is going to be over to best player, tied with Nats. And now putting on that pressure for the top side. Mobazane forced to help clear with Shark. Not off to a good start. I wouldn't say it's too far out of the ballpark, though, for the BloodThirstyKings. They just got to kind of regroup and re-engage.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have to take a second, not force any fights. They know what they're up against now. Best player finds Zia, and Zia had such a good start to this game, able to get the kill onto Basic solo, but now Cloud9 has switched paces and they're locking on.
Yeah, best player gonna quickly try and do some damage onto this turret. Marcutie.
Ooh, a lot of damage from Mobazane, but he's not gonna be able to get away. The Lantern Flare stops him right before he gets the kill, and best player finds it.
All right, so first turret is going to go to Cloud9. Another objective on their side, slightly faster to the punch over BTK, who has yet to find an objective so far. We kind of said one of those keys to victory was Mobazane able to get these turtles or finding a trade-off and finding a possible turret. But right now, they have yet to do so. Zia, 2-3-1 on this carry. We've seen him shine a little bit earlier, but now it's kind of looking like he's going to be delayed. I'd love to kind of see just the difference in gold between him and Basic, as we know both of these ADCs are going to hit very hard toward that mid-game timer. But right now, Cloud9, you can tell they're in control, at least for the early phase.
And I mean, look at best player, man. Like you said, that 4-0-3 is going to be a problem. The amount of damage he's outputting, even onto Shark or Fried Chicken right now, he's taking out the tanky boys down to about 50% with ease right now. So BTK, I think, really just looking for time at this point. A little bit of damage on a Cold War, but shortcut comes out once again, and all 5 members of Cloud9 are jumping onto BTK. Fried Chicken pulled back in. Nats does go down. Hoon able to get the kill, but they pay Fried Chicken for that one. And now the members of BTK all low. Mobazane Shark down to about 10%. Mobazane just wants a purple, but he's not going to be able to go for it. Has to use the escape and give over that purple buff to C9. Hoon takes a lot of damage from the fracture. BTK still forced at bay. Marcutie just zoning them so well with the Lantern Flare.
The chip just working really well for Cloud9. That teleport catching the BloodThirstyKings off guard. It was an even trade, though, when it came to who fell, right? Fried Chicken and Nats, both of them falling right there. Nats off to a little bit better of a start against Fried Chicken, though. 2-1-3 compared to 0-3-0 on that Gatot. As we are now seeing the items on the board, though, Gold Laners not too far apart from each other. You've seen the Starlight Requiem picked up by Basic, but matched by the Corrosion Scythe, and also the Golden Staff for that enhanced attack speed and a little bit of slow upon impact from Zia.
Yeah, so at this point, like we said, BTK forced to kind of step back, and I think Cloud9, especially having the chip, they can consistently keep him on opposite sides of the map, stay close to the portals if he needs to. They can play their wide map game that they like to play. I do think with Cloud9 having this big lead that they have, they are running a little bit more of a tight formation. They have Nats who can set up these moves, and whenever they do split up, they just all come back together with the shortcut. So BTK has to find a way around this if they want to keep up in this match.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, with 2 turrets lost, it's going to be very hard for them to invade the jungle of Cloud9, especially losing that tier 3 in the mid lane. That's one of the high-value targets. We got to see a little bit of chip damage on the bot side, though, with Shark, but they were not able to burst it down. So now they're going to have to regroup again, but this is allowing Cloud9 to invade with comfortability onto the side of BTK's jungle. Look at mobilelegendsgame. He's looking for a possible pocket play, waiting for this Lord to also spawn in, but a lot of pressure in terms of these objectives working in Cloud9's favor.
Yeah, and I mean, with BTK not being able to take a single tower, it's like, do they even go for the split push at this point? Do they even, do they just stay grouped up and, cut off the arm to save the body for a little bit? I don't even know if they can contest for a Lord right now. They do have shred potential, having Zia. They have some nice siege protection, having Shark as well with the implosion, along with Fried Chicken and the AOG. But still, it's definitely, they're in for the long haul, I think, if they want to try to win this game.
Yeah, definitely going to have to play very passive now. Wait for Cloud9 to make a mistake and make the most out of the situation. But I will give BTK the benefit of the doubt. We know their team, when their back's against the wall, that's when they shine the most. I think Zane has proven that time and time again, at least in the NACT. So we'll have to see as we trickle past the 10-minute mark now into the mid-game how BTK will respond. But we are looking at the ADCs. Not too many kills for Basic, not too many kills for Zia. And both of them were still pretty even when it came to the itemization, despite the massive lead that we're starting to see in terms of objective for Cloud9. They do have a Lord marching through the mid lanes. Should open up the opportunity for some tier 2 plays.
Yeah, I'm gonna pucker up every time I see Cold World go for an attack, because I'm waiting to see 5 members of Cloud9 just jump through a portal at any moment. Lord does get brought down to about half health. I think Cloud9 coming into these fights, what they really need to do is just be careful about how much they group up. As long as they watch out for these bottlenecks coming into the base, as long as they watch out, for the response attacks of the AOG, the Implosion, and the Eternal Guardian, they watch out for that big combo that BTK could use to turn around a game, then Cloud9 will be okay. It's just all about how they approach these sieges.
Speaking of sieges, down goes all tier 2 turrets. Left with their inhibitors for the BloodThirstyKings. Zia picking up that DHS. Anti-Caress picked up by Shark. Radiant Armor picked up by Chicken. 9-4 on the scoreboard. Look at best player, though. 10K gold. Yeah. Well ahead of everybody on the BloodThirstyKings. I mean, he's already got a BOD, a Malefic Roar, and a Hunter Strike, and they're ready to deal some damage.
All right, here comes a shortcut. Eternal Guardian does come down. Nice implosion. AOG also locks on. Bahoon takes a lot of damage. Shark goes down. Best player able to get the kill. Zia on the run. Very low. Still goes down. Mark Cutie gets it. It's Basic for 3. And now Fried Chicken might get caught up by the Lantern Flare. Mark Cutie trying to get the pull back. But BTK still in shambles. Even after getting the big combo down. Unable to output the damage.
Now, they don't have as much push potential, especially with Basic falling right there, but it's still an overall win trade for Cloud9 since Zia fell in that engagement as well. Zia is going to be who the BloodThirstyKings is going to be relying on to turn this back around. The later this goes, the harder he will hit, the more he'll be able to shred down the members of Cloud9. But I don't think Cloud9 is looking to give him that opportunity. They're looking to try and possibly close this out with another Lord play on the way in the next 15 seconds. Right now, you're looking at an excellent game from best player on this Nolan, yet to find a single death. Cold World keeping BTK on their toes with these teleports. Just when you think you have the numbers in the advantage, here comes Cold World, here comes a teleport and a full team of Cloud9 to engage.
And this just feels like such a mental game. Zane wants to come in. Nice implosion does land on a best player. Big knock-up, Eternal Guardian, AOG, and everything goes down perfectly. Best player down, Cold World down. Zia with Speedy Light Wheel, but Nats and Basic find 2 more. It's a 2 for 2 right now. A lot of damage, does lock on to Fried Chicken. Mark Cutie trying to get the last couple hits from Zane, secures the double. And now BTK finally up in a team fight. Fried Chicken's got to get away as Mark Cutie brings out the Lantern Flare. Zane doesn't want to give up this Lord just yet. Fried Chicken going back to the base for some more health. Nat still staying involved. Zane brings out the enhanced knife, looking for the chains, gets pulled in by the Amafend to the Lantern Flare. Zane might go down. Nats gets the kill. He stayed too long, and now Hoon on the run, forced to use the flicker. Fried Chicken gonna get back involved, looking for the taunt. Nats still there. It's still a fight for a Lord at 30%. Mark Cutie, Nats up against Fried Chicken, and Shark coming soon.
Man, a bloodbath in the Lord Pit, and we're still going. Chicken, Shark, ready to contest against the 4-man rotation of Cloud9.
Yeah, best player gets the Lord, though, in the end. Cloud9 space out that fight long enough and come out on top. I feel like mobilelegendsgame maybe shouldn't have win for that. Maybe he, I mean, I get it. You just got the double kill. You feel like you can pull it off, but him going down is what swayed that over to Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have the retribution, right? He started to pull the aggro. He realized that not only Basic, but also best player were down. But without that retry, he should have just left that Lord alone. He should have disengaged and waited for the team to get in position to fight again. And yeah, unfortunately, that worked inside of Cloud9's favor to be able to take this Lord and now use it against them. An opportunity to be able to crack open the base for the BloodThirstyKings.
All right, so Lord encroaching onto the top inhibitor. It goes down. 2 left standing for the side of BTK. Best player dancing back and forth. Shark looking for the big implosion play. Looking for anything. Gonna get I'm offended back in. Taken out before he can even pop an ult. Basic drops him on force. Starts out putting the damage. Fried Chicken brought low. Taken out as well. Basic with the double kill. Hoon does find Nats in the chaos, but it's still a 2-for-1 and minions are still coming. mobilelegendsgame looking for a target. Backs off, and now Cloud9 maybe taking their time with this. Mark Judy gonna flicker in along with Basic. Zamon's force drops in the tower, drops along with it. mobilelegendsgame just forced to retreat here, but the fracture. Basic gets the kill, and Cold World comes back up with an immortality. C9 finally decides to back off.
Yeah, they smell a shark in the water, going to be spawning in soon, and they definitely don't want to test that implosion play again. But it was a good read. They saw Shark was out of position. They knew if they could burst him down before he could get that implosion, they didn't have to worry about the setups, and it allowed them to open up the base. One more inhibitor to go through for the mid lane.
Comes the shortcut. Shark with a nice implosion, though, onto 3 members. Down comes the Eternal Guardian, and members of Cloud9 are thrown into the air. Basic with a double kill, though. And they lose Basic. Zia gets it for his life, but Marcuti still dancing in the base with the Lantern Flare.
Yeah, no push potential, though, so best player Marcuti definitely going to want to push back. Here comes mobilelegendsgame, ready to clear these minions. Do they go in for the engagement? They're still holding it down in the mid lane with just best player in Marcuti. Possibly checkmate right now up against the BloodThirstyKings for game number 1. Not too much insurance behind the BloodThirstyKings with only that inhibitor in the mid lane standing. You're already seeing some of the immortalities being picked up. Shark picks one up. You're seeing the Rose Gold Meteor picked up over there by Zia as well for some additional shielding. He picks up the Wind of Nature on top of that, worried about the physical damage possibly coming out and bursting him down. Right now, we're only 16 minutes in, and you're looking at BTK only with 1 inhibitor standing and down by 6,000 gold at the 16-minute mark.
Yeah, at this point, the only way BTK is coming back is they need that big wipe, right? They need that 5-man wipe out. They need to be able to push down the mid lane, push down the lane, and go for the crystal, right? I mean, they are closing in on the 50k gold mark. Zane has about maxed items at this point, but still Cloud9 has enough of a lead on the other members of their team that BTK is still going to have a bit of trouble with this. They have to outclass them if they want to win this. It's not going to be done with brute force.
Yeah, definitely going to have to play a little passive and wait for an opportunity to shine. If BTK wants to have a chance to turn this around, best player getting the Lord.
And Cold World decides not to use the shortcut there. Speedy Light Wheel comes out from Zia, getting some nice damage onto Cold World, but Cloud9 again. I feel like we've been seeing them play so precise. They never really overextend. They get their objective. If they don't need to fight, they know they don't need to fight. We got the Lord and we just wait for the push.
Yeah, right now, Shark is going to have to get the set of a lifetime to be able to turn this game back around for the BloodThirstyKings. That implosion is going to be massive if they want to have a chance to be able to win this game. You already see him in position inside of the bush waiting for that opportunity as the Luminous Lord makes its way on the top side. Winter Crown picked up by Marcuti as well. A lot of late game items, a lot of survivability may come into contact when both these teams engage, as you are now seeing this Luminous Lord cross into the base in the battle for the inhibitor.
And Zia hangs out by the crystal, trying to shred down on these lanes. An Ice Lantern Flare on the fly chicken. Lord on the top side, though. Cold World and Nat sitting behind it. Zia shreds away at it. Lord does finally go down. BTK able to defend. Cloud9 not forcing it out. But watch your best player looking for White Chicken. White Chicken brought down to about 20%. Brings a little bit of health back. But in comes the possible damage. Fried Chicken does go down. Shark gets the implosion on 2 members of Cloud9. Mobazane trying to stack on Zia there along with him, but C9 just doesn't go down. Shark in the hands of the Zaman's Force finally falls, does pop the immortality, but it's double kill over to Best Player. And now it's nothing but Zia and Hoon defending against 5 members of Cloud9. The Crystal may finally get locked on. 1 Canyon minion to help him move in as Best Player plays the distance. Cold World as well. Looking for the middle inhibitor. Another wave of minions. Going to be able to close the distance. Basic finally locks on, drops Zaman's Force, and that will be game number 1 going into the hands of Cloud9.
A flawless game at that 23-11 at the 19-minute mark. 3 turtles, 3 lords, and all the turrets working in their favor. Cloud9, they're not playing around. They're ready to try and earn that seat as a grand finalist and try and knock down the BloodThirstyKings. Off to a good start for game number 1, but the question is, can they keep up that momentum? We gotta break down what we've seen, at least in that ender right there, right? We saw Chicken. He tried to bait out a lot of the utility from the side of Cloud9. He was frontlining with that Katat. He was hoping for a lot of ultimates to be used right there, so that way they could turn that back around in their favor. But a little bit of separation from BTK, a little bit of a miscalculation on their last line of defense was costly, and Cloud9 was able to push through and close out that game. MVP looks like it is going to be Best Player, just stacked up over there. 7-1-12 on the Nolan.
Yeah, Best Player, was just a monster that game. We saw the man had like 10,000 gold when everyone else was sitting at 6,000 and 7,000. He was almost fully stacked out. Leads the board in terms of damage dealt right now with 77,000. Best Player definitely online right now. And you said at Cloud9, it really felt like they were just kind of playing the wait and bait in so many of those fights. Even that last engage, Best Player never crossed the inhibitor line till Shark finally came out, trying to maybe make a play. He could have probably stayed in the base just fine, but once, Fried Chicken came out, once Fried Chicken went out, you see Best Player kind of lock on. Fried Chicken gets caught off, taken out. Shark is the next to fall. Mobazane. Cloud9 just, I felt like through that whole game, we're just kind of letting BTK come into these fights themselves and then capitalizing on it.
Yeah, the micro is just a little bit more synergized, at least for game number 1, and we're going to have to see how BTK responds for game number 2. Definitely some impressive gameplay nonetheless, and something that not too many teams we see are able to execute at that caliber. The chip, it was very effective. We kind of asked the question when it got slotted in. We were wondering, hey, is it still the bread and butter that it used to be? And it definitely is. It definitely kept BTK on their toes when it came to the engagements. When BTK thought they had the numbers, that's when Cold World would just pop up and disrupt everything and turn the engagement around. This is interesting right here. The 1v1 matchup between Zia and Basic was a little concerning as well. I definitely don't want to overextend on the 1v1s. Especially being a late game marksman, you want to be able to get to those core items as soon as possible. But there it goes. Look at the counter plays. Look at the teleports. Just look how impactful it is when you have a chip on your side who knows when to engage.
Yeah, I don't think the chip will be let through again because so many of those fights were chip dependent. So many, this one again. For a moment there, BTK in the laning phase, it felt like they had it, but the chip, the wild card pick there was just too much. And then as the game went into the mid side, Mark Cutie was just detrimental to everything that C9 wanted to bring. They were just, able to check bushes, able to make it so BTK could never really advance or look for the big ambushes.
Yeah, and Chicken kind of forced to put that Katat in the XP lane. It just wasn't really effective for him. And we were wondering what he was going to kind of slot in there, right? Because we got to see him. He kind of wanted to go in for a counterplay up against Nats with the last pick of the XP lane when they were second in the draft. And yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't work out the way he was going for. We got to see some good tries, though, right? He tried to bait out some plays from Cloud9, especially toward the ending here, trying to make them use all their utility on him and stay alive by hitting some creeps and some minions. But it just didn't really work out in their favor. Shark on top of that, the implosion plays, yeah, he was able to grab some members, but the BloodThirstyKings were not able to burst them down in time, and then you would just see Shark be the one to get picked off because of it.
Yeah, right before this was when Fried Chicken stick his necks out. You can see that he's the first to go down here. Mobazane is second, and then Shark the final one to fall. And after that, I think it was just kind of a wrap. I do think Fried Chicken may have performed a little bit, like towards the end there, we start to see the BTK composition start to work, right? The combo potential start to work. But when you're 6,000 or 7,000 gold behind, the big 3 ult combo just isn't enough, right? It's not enough to secure enough damage. If they were at least even in gold, that could have maybe gone a very different way. If BTK's early game potential really would have set off, it could have definitely gone into their hands. But their rotations didn't really matter when the chip is on the field, man. And it was scary. And the thing about C9 there too is they didn't just play, we saw them last week really play this more spread out comp. They were very all over the map at all times. This game they played much tighter. They played a lot more 4-1. They played a lot of just 5 on top of you. They played a very different play style than what we saw last week, and it's starting to look like C9 has even more cards up their sleeve.
Yeah, what was interesting too is BTK, they kind of prioritized picking up that Julian from Zane super early. You got to see that Suyu banned out. You got to see a lot of the junglers banned out. That Zane is very comfortable. I think the Alpha was banned out on top of it. There goes the Alpha again, banned out from Cloud9. But Zane was able to pick up that Julian first pick. Best player picked up his hero. He picked up the Nolan last in the draft. And to be able to get the MVP on top of that, it's just very hard with that deep hero pool that he has, especially inside of the jungle. But I'm starting to kind of sniff a pattern when it comes to Cloud9's drafting, right? They seem to try and force Zane on specific junglers. They're okay with him going on that Julian. I feel like they don't feel too pressured to go up against it. The Bane is still up for grabs, though. It is yet to be picked up from either side. We know that Mobile Zane is very effective on it as well. So if he can't get in with the Julian, maybe he goes in with a little bit more of a push-oriented jungler, and that could be a possibility to turn this back around in their favor. Now, BTK does have first pick, unlike last game, so we'll see how they kind of jump into this. It may change the bans entirely. We're seeing a total just full jungle bans right now. This is Zane and best player targeting at its finest.
I think BTK, I think the wise move is ban out the Valentina again, high chance, and force C9 to ban out the chip, right? Or ban out something else. But either way, force C9 to probably ban out the chip here. It's something that I think they kind of have to do right now. The only problem is if BTK doesn't ban out the Valentina, then Mark Cutie still gets, something very comfortable for himself. So definitely C9 has been known to, even without the trades, they just showed that Mark Cutie does amazing on the Jushin. Instead, BTK go for the Jushin ban this time. If C9 decides, all right, we're not going to ban the chip here, then either way, they get some nice comfort picks. BTK is in this situation where it's like, okay, do we take the chip and give them the Valentina and another power pick? They go for the chip in. So I do feel like BTK in this situation maybe won out. I got a feeling BTK does pick up the Valentina up front here, unless there's something else I'm missing.
Khalid is still available, but we know
Khalid's
that
available.
Nat's been kind of dominating against Khalid's, especially pulling out that CC. So I wonder if that's Cloud9's trying to force that hand from the Bloodthirsty Kings. But last game we got to see Chicken be a little bit more reactionary in terms of drafting, right? He wanted to pick a hero that he knew would kind of out-rotate and beat Nats, but he wasn't able to do that with the last game, just kind of probably due to the objectives of how well C9 was executing. But with them having Prio, it's an excellent question. Do they go in for the mage? Do they pick up that Valentina, provide some draft pressure? Or do they get Chicken on something super early, such as the Khalid or the Katat? It's still available.
Or the Katat, yeah.
Are great options, but they're going to go in for something different entirely. It's going to be the Ruby, and I'm okay with that too, because that is a trifecta, right? That could be the roamer, that could be the XP laner, that could be the gold laner. So right now they're just playing for a little bit of insurance in the draft.
Yeah, it's definitely solid, and as we've seen, I think in so many drafts over this season, it doesn't feel like there's just like one pick to rule them all right now, except maybe Chip. So going for the Ruby first, going for the Valentina first, going for the Katat first doesn't like guarantee you the win. I will say that C9, they get the Valentina here, they could pick up the Katat, and they do have 2 nice comfort power picks for themselves up front. Yeah, I think that's probably the route to take here. Most likely, and then with the Valentina, they also can still pull off. Ooh, the Grok, though. The Grok is so clean.
Okay, I wasn't going to say Grok. I was going to say Matilda was available for grabbing, and I thought that they would have pulled that out and been like, okay, we have a Valentina. We already got an I'm Offended. We have some crowd control, so we can throw some support in the mix. But the Grok is definitely interesting, especially this early. It works, I guess. You can hug the wall. You don't have to worry about the heavy crowd control composition. Here's a hero we didn't mention, though, especially having Prio first in the draft, the Phoveus. slips through the bands and has been secured by the BloodThirstyKings. Did get a full revamp, full physical damage now, and it's been very effective. The Julian now going to be picked up for the second time from mobilelegendsgame. Didn't work in the first game. We didn't get to really see him find a way to close into these neutral objectives, but with having Prio in the draft for this game, maybe this will make up the difference.
Okay, so with the gold lane Ruby essentially locked in, I do think Hoon needs to be on something that's going to output some damage. C9, if the Lilia doesn't get banned out, could be a nice pick for Hoon here. But here's the thing with C9, picking up that Grok, this gives them such laning phase priority. Having the Grok and the Valentina, there's nothing that BTK is going to bring that is going to out clear that mid lane better than a Valentina and a concussive blast Grok. So when BTK normally, sometimes they win out in that first minute or two, they get the early game gank, they have some laning. This kind of really forfeits that over a little bit to C9. And I think we got to keep our eyes on Cold World and Mark Cutie this game, because I got a feeling in these first 3 minutes they are going to be moving around a lot and probably have river control.
Yeah, we got to see how they kind of play into this. I mean, there are still some great marksmen that could be picked up from Cloud9 to definitely deal some damage. I mean, you have pretty much everything on the table, actually. You have the carry, you have the Claude for survivability, you have the Natan. If they want to throw that back into the mix, it's definitely a viable option. The Alice, you know, we've seen the Alice even dominate inside of the gold lane, and I hope to be able to see another Alice today from either side. We are going to see this glue, though, picked up by NAS. We saw him showcase it earlier in the regular season. We're going to see how this kind of goes up against this Phobia's play from Fried Chicken. I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye inside of the XP lane. Chicken wasn't really able to get online last game. I feel like the Katat was kind of forced into his hands, and he just had to play the best he could on it. But this time he has a lot more prio with the draft, and I expect him to be a lot more comfortable. But I feel like Nasty picks up this glue for a reason. He can kind of hug and harass and not have to really go back too much, especially with the split, and he could possibly target even mobilelegendsgame when he tries to go in for these neutral objectives. And that was really what the threat was the entire game. The neutral objective plays from Cloud9 was just overshadowing BTK entirely.
Yeah, I feel like BTK has to ban out the Hayabusa here. If they don't, I just feel like at this point it's like, if you're gonna ban best player, ban best player, right? Like now they're switching over to the Noland. Last game I think they banned the Hayabusa. I think they should have banned the Noland as well. If you're gonna try to dig into best player, there you go. Ban the Hayabusa. See what best player is gonna bring to the field now, and I think that's the right play. Stretch him to his limits. Look for that. If that's the target, they're gonna go. And it's not like this is the first time we've ever seen junglers get banned out. We've seen it happen to mobilelegendsgame back in the tank meta. I think BTK knows the big problem here. I think a lot of people know what the big problem is, and I think that is going to be your answer to it facing against C9 right now.
Yeah, so is this when the Bane comes out? And that's what I'm probably expecting here. Oh, the
Or
Roger.
the Roger.
Oh, the Roger. Okay. But you know what? This may open up the opportunity. I'm probably not going to see Basic run a traditional ADC then inside of the gold lane, since you do have the marksman Roger running inside of the jungle. He may go in for a mage. He may go in for that Alice that we kind of talked about to deal some threat and have a little bit of that life steal. Nonetheless, though, the Roger's definitely something that we haven't got to see, at least in the past few days for the NACT, but it's been effective overall in the regular season. Able to have the like and pounce, able to be aggressive super early. As long as they kind of pick their battles and wait for BTK to get low on that HP, that's when Roger comes out sniffing for blood. It's going to have to be something that the BloodThirstyKings watches out for as well. They're going to have to kind of be a little bit more decisive when they engage in the early game.
Yeah, and even though there's a chance, like we see this in the most likely we see it in the jungle, it's still very possible it could get flexed over, right? There's still a lot of C9 still kind of saves this last pick for Basic just in case they want to do a cheeky swap here at the end. But there goes the Cho pick. There goes the Valentina, or no, the Lunox pick for Hoon in mid, which I did say I want to see more damage from Hoon. This is something that can supply it, but still, it is, you know, we see Lunox so much in the gold lane right now that I mean, I think it's a good pick, but it's definitely going to be slightly different in comfortability of rotations for Hoon.
I like the Lunox because of the brilliance, especially with the 1-1, right? As soon as Basic gets those weakness points and he procs that brilliance, he'll be just fine. And Basic will not be able to shut him down. So I think it's a smart play, but I'm more looking at Basic on this 1-1, right? I mean, you have a Cho with the single target CC. You have the Lunox who can kind of counteract that as well. I guess it's because Chicken, he's very, like, when you're running in with the Phobias, he's not the most mobile hero. So when he goes in, your whole team has to go in and engage, or he's going to get picked off. Once he joins that battle, he's not going to be able to get out.
Yeah, I mean, Shark has to be careful about how he goes in as well. from this from the 1-1 and everything. I think the 1-1 was solid. It's definitely still in this place where it's like, is it very good? I think there's some gold laners that are pulling it off, but only time will tell as we jump into game number 2 in a best of 5 of BTK. All right, looks like we got a pause. Heck yeah, Stephweezy.
We just wanted to say hi to you guys, man. We decided to personally. No, I'm
Got
kidding.
him.
It's out of our control. But while we have some time, let's just kind of break down game number 2. Right, game number 1, Cloud9 is in the lead, 1-2-0. BTK needs to find a way to turn this around. They have an interesting draft. I can't wait to see how it's executed. I think the most interesting thing is definitely the 1-1 picked up over there by Basic. You kind of mentioned, is it a staple pick? Is it something that's going to kind of step back into the meta? It hasn't really been that effective. Every time I see it, this NACT, it's not the deciding factor on why a team wins, but maybe Basic is going to show us something different today. But Shark on this show, this is going to be something fun to watch.
Yeah, I think Shark on the show is definitely a throwback. And there's been times where, you know, when he goes international, we don't see him play it as much. A lot of times he kind of sometimes can whiff on it, but I feel like he's a player that at home, he does amazing. I've always liked Shark on the show, so I'm excited to see how he pulls this off. Mark Cutie's going to have to be careful. Best player going to have to be careful. The only one that's I think is extremely safe from the show is probably the 1-1, just because of the nullification on the crowd control. But we'll see exactly how it plays out as we actually jump into game number 2.
That's right, game number 2, Cloud9 1 point ahead of the BloodThirstyKings so far. If we look at game number 1, we got to see Cloud9 be very aggressive with the power of Chip to be able to displace BTK and keep them uncomfortable, allowing Cloud9 to take majority of these objectives. And you're looking at Cold World planning to do possibly the same thing on being aggressive, but Shark on this show, ready to go the distance.
Yeah, Shark on the show, and even though we see Cloud9 kind of clear up the waves a little bit, Cold World's forced to get away from this, which means Hoon's going to have the advantage in clearing things, and Shark not even worried about it. He's like, he knows his objective, he knows his job, and it is stay in best player's face.
Yeah, I mean, Shark is one of those roamers. He's known to kind of harass the enemy jungle, right? He's known to try and be that gnat that you can't swipe away, and it's been effective. If he can pull that off against Cloud9, it could help ease the way for the BloodThirstyKings to be able to take these objectives in the early game. I mean, look at him right now. He's all over the place, even inside of the mid lane. But good separation from Cold World and Mark Cutie, limiting the damage output provided by him.
Yeah, I mean, and both roamers go for the concussive blast. Gonna help him out a bit in terms of wave clearing. Gonna help him out a bit with a little bit more damage. Something to point out, though, Basic with the Aegis spell here. You know, a lot of times we see Wanwan just go for the Purify, maybe for the Flicker. I don't know if it's something, you know, slightly different idea. Can help him be a little bit more aggressive. Also give a bit more shield to everybody, but a lot of damage coming in the top side.
Ooh, Nat's very low. Need to get out of there. Moba Zane able to secure the first blood to take him down. One slight advantage for the early game.
But once again, BTK, control of the laning phase. This is somewhere that they thrive consistently, even against Cloud9, and it's something without the chip, without the easy rotations to keep up, Cloud9 has to be careful for.
Yeah, definitely needing to pick your poison and wait. You don't want to allow Cloud9 to be overly aggressive in the early phase and take the objectives away from Mobazane. We know he thrives on these rotations. To be able to get a kill this early in the game is definitely off to a great start. Look at Zia, though, on the bot side. Some good zonage up against Basic.
Honestly, I feel like when it comes to the 1v1, Zia has been getting the better of Basic a bit, and this has been kind of like the grudge match between these two. When it comes to, you know, gold medals, NACT, I think we're at a point that Basic has gotten a bit more, has gotten, you know, the higher champ stats, but Zia wants to prove that he's the best gold laner in NA, and some people will tell you two different things. You know, some it depends on, you know, who you're shipping, what boat you're on right now, but currently in these two games, when it comes down to the 1v1, Zia has been getting the better.
Yeah, speaking of getting the better, Nat's caught out of position again and quickly punished by Fried Chicken, finding his second death of the game. Both sides going out the way. The Dragon connecting. Moba Zane will take down best player. 2 members down for Cloud9, extending the lead 3-0.
Okay, beautiful plays. They find Nats. Not only that, they get a great way of the Dragon, but more damage coming up under the tower.
Yeah, Mark Cutie and Cold World left to defend against 4 members of the BloodThirstyKings. Able to take down the minions. Drops a Guardian's Barrier as well, trapping Hoon. Able to sidestep back to safety, but not able to push into that tier 3 turret.
As Shark goes back to base, we'll give a little bit of space for Cloud9 to regain some ground. Bloodwings do just get locked in for mobilelegendsgame. He's 2-0-1. He's doing exactly what we saw last time. Let's take a look at this play. Nat's taken out, and watch for this Way to Dragon coming from Shark. He goes for best player, brings him back in, and that is pretty much it for best player. There's no escape. He tries to like and pounce, but it's not enough. You know, there was a nerf that came in onto the Roger, and it's one of the reasons why we haven't seen him be as critical as a pick as we used to. The like and pounce, I mean, the ult just isn't as good as he used to be. Roger just not doing as much as he used to. And in the past, even when the Roger was jungle, we would see a lot of time double fighter off lane. So I feel like having ooh, wait a second, Quiet Chicken in trouble?
Yeah, Demonic Force dropping down, forcing out the brilliance from Marcutie back to safety. mobilelegendsgame with all the chaos will be able to get the turtle, 2 turtles for the BloodThirstyKings.
All right, so yeah, as I was saying, I feel like best player may have been in better hands if Basic got the Ruby Gold, right? If they had the double fighter off lane. But seeing that they don't have as strong as a front line this time, just the glue and the grok, it could be a problem for best player. Taking a look at the items though, I want to focus back on mobilelegendsgame. He's 2-0-1. He's got the Bloodwings. He's 4K. He's 1.5 ahead of best player.
Ooh, speaking of best player, hit with the G-Kundo and the Way of the Dragon and shut down by Zia. Nas may be next if he's not careful. Forces out the split push, split, and also a tier 3 turret in BTK's favor.
All right, so BTK 4-0, 4K gold lead on top of that 4, up against Cloud9, wave control, lane control. They've taken the first tower of the game. It's looking similar to last time, and I mean last week, but this time, I think as long as they can make sure Basic doesn't make any cheeky off-lane side pushes, you know, if they can control the macro, BTK will be okay here.
Yeah, you are going to see Basic forced to rotate to the top side now. Going to be going up against Fried Chicken on this Phobius. I wonder if he's going to stay there or if Zia is going to rotate to go up against him. But right now, you can definitely tell BTK is in control of this early game. Some quick rotations, a lot of objectives working in their favor, and have found no deaths on top of that. Pretty much a flawless game. Highest kills going over to mobilelegendsgame himself.
Yeah, I feel like with the way that the kills have gone, the 3 players we need to watch on Cloud9 to try to make the turnaround are going to be Marcutie, Cold World, Basic, right? Marcutie and Basic for the damage, but wait, Nat's in trouble once again.
Hit without defended. Poon will be able to shut him down. That's Nat's 3rd death so far in this game. BTK climbing with this lead, a snowball in the making, and Cloud9 needs to be careful or it's going to roll on top of them.
The Shark's been so aggressive on this show, man. 3 assists right now. 3 out of the 5 kills he's had a huge part of. And as I said, luckily Basic Marcutie hasn't taken a kill because that's, I think at this point, best player's out, right? Best player is essentially out of commission. I don't know how he's going to be the big turnaround. Marcutie and Basic are going to have to step up, but BTK, they're in the same shoes that Cloud9 had last game. BTK just need to play solid. They need to control lanes. They need to take towers and keep on moving forward.
And speaking of that, Zane on the same wavelength will take to tier 3 on the top side. Only a tier 3 standing in the mid lane. If they can push that in, they should be able to invade more comfortably onto the side of Cloud9's map. Zia, a little bit of displacement. 3 members make that 4 of Cloud9 on his tail. Given everything they've got, the split.
Yeah.
The tank comes out. He's still alive. Marcutie. The finishing touches will take him down. Who will find Cold World to respond back? But my God, Zia was holding on for dear life.
Gold lane Ruby is disgusting. Can we just all admit the fact of that right now? It does a great amount of damage. Its sustainability is off the charts. It doesn't make any sense. And I think this Ruby may end up actually being the big trade factor between these 2 teams. The Ruby and the gold lane may be the big game changer for whoever gets it.
Yeah, definitely need some answers for Cloud9 right now. 6-2-1 on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Warax for Zia, speaking of him, he's 6,000 gold. He's closing in on a 2,000 above Basic right now. Basic's got the Scythe, he just got the DHS. But when we take a look at Zia, he's coming in on the 3rd item right now. He also has the boots. He's just got a strong lead, and you pair that up with the Way of the Dragon.
Yeah, it does connect onto Nats, forced out the split. You are going to see Cold World forced to use that wild charge for the knockup to allow Nats to get back to safety. BTK just forcing Cloud9's hand right now. I mean, look at them now invading into their jungle, denying all the farm they can. Holy Crystal as well, picked up by Zane for some additional magic power.
Yeah, I mean, Zane being 2-0-3, just like what we saw from Best Player last game, Zane is even scaring off the tanks on the side of Cloud9. Nat's taking those 3 deaths at 9 minutes in. He's not really able to hold down the front line, and every time he tries to dive in, Shark is there ready to give him a swift kick to the face. I mean, and Shark is ready to give a swift kick to the face to anybody right now. Best Player doesn't feel safe. Nats doesn't feel safe. Shark is all around the map, and speaking of him, here he goes once again.
Yeah, both sides fighting on the orange buff. The Terrify connects onto Shark. Looks like they are still going to go in for it. Zane able to deny the orange buff from Best Player. Now the battle may be on the way for the tier 3 in the mid lane. Hoon ready to take the fight. Zia is going to connect with a lot of crowd control, but Cloud9 able to hold off that turret. Look at the Lord on the top side, though. This is going to buy BTK some time to be able to push in even further and take down the tier 2s. You're looking at the bot side, Chicken already in position to be able to take it.
No. Lord's going to be coming in. Cloud9 should be able to defend this. They have 2 marksmen. They have a lot of damage, but look at the damage on a Cold World.
Ooh, Zia will be able to take the tier 3 turret in the mid lane on top of all this engagement. Lord does get bursted down, but you are going to see the tier 2 fall alongside it. Chicken finds the tier 2 on the bot side. You find the one on the mid as well by Zia, and now the inhibitors are all that's standing for Cloud9. Not a single turret has fallen for the Bloodthirsty Kings.
And the big thing for BTK here is because they haven't lost any of those turrets, it's a lot harder for Cloud9 to try to macro this, right? It's a lot harder for them to make those sneaky plays. And last time, Basic had the Claude, which is a lot more slippery of a hero. They also had Best Player on a much more mobile Assassin. Taking a look at the items, though, and speaking of Best Player, he's just hitting the 6K mark. He is far, far behind. Even Shark is sitting at 4,800 right now, keeping his grounds. He's got the Thunderbelt in. He builds half magic, half physical. He's able to have enough defense, and nobody's really packing a punch just yet on the side of Cloud9.
Even Zane's level 15 compared to Best Player at level 12
yeah.
At the 11-minute mark, now trickling to the mid game, and it's looking like the end game with the pace that BTK is performing on. Speaking of pace, the purple buff on the way, the wild charge forced from Cold World back into the mid lane to safety, and another denial and an evasion play by BTK, allowing Zane to take the purple buff.
Even though they don't get a kill there, since they get the purple buff, it's huge for the side of BTK, right? Now at this point, Zane goes farm some of his own jungle. They got 22 seconds to kill, sit in some bushes, eat some snacks, and wait for Cloud9 at this point. Cloud9, what is the answer, Weezy?
The answer is being a little bit more passive. I feel like they're getting too far behind to take these engagements, and with all the objectives stacked in BTK's favor, this is where they thrive, right? They're in their natural element. You are going to see this Lord spawn in, though. Luminous Lord now in effect, and you're already seeing Zane quickly heading over to it. Cloud9, they're looking like they're focusing more on the split push, trying to find some type of opportunity to open up this map. They're not even going to be able to make it to this Lord. The only thing they can do right now is defend.
I mean, with Best Player being level 12, too, below Zane, it's like you can't even really go for the Retry battle, right? Cloud9, the only way they could get the Retry win, honestly, is if they get a big stun onto Zane. And the problem is Cold World and Nats, their 2 big stunners, aren't able to get in without getting shredded down. So BTK, unless they make some huge whiff here, right? Unless they make some big mistake, it does feel very comfortable in their hands. They do, I will say, there is a clock on this, right? They do need to, finish this game. I think even if they don't finish it in this Lord, I think third Lord is going to be extremely important if they're not able to finish it here, because after third, once we get to 4th and 5th, Cloud9 starts to max out on items. Everyone starts to hit that level 15 mark, and the game starts to slowly even out instead of becoming more and more of an advantage to BTK.
And we're going to figure out if they can close it out here. You are going to see the Luminous Lord take down the inhibitor on the top side. The base has been open for Cloud9, left to defend, and BTK on a possible push. They don't have the minions in the mid lane, though, so it's going to kind of delay them engaging on this play for a possible ender, and the Lord will be bursted down by Cloud9.
I love this little Mark Cutie and Zia there. They're both standing. Mark Cutie knows he's in range of the I'm offended, but Zia knows he has the Purify, and they're both trying to kind of bait out the other skill, but Zia's not falling for it.
Ooh, and you're going to see the inhibitor fall on the bot side. Best player doing his best, trying to stop the Bloodthirsty Kings, but their synergy is coming alive. It feels like they're decoding Cloud9 right now for game number 2. The Wild Charge play, though. Best player will make the most out of the setup. Takes down Zia the way the Dragon for the knockup. Hoon finds best player to respond. Basic finds Shark. Members dropping for both sides, 2-1. Mobile Zane will find Basic, evening it out, 2-2. Demonic Force Zane finding Cora with the hand chains. Demonic Force from Chicken. Hoon! Single Fission will find Mark Cutie. A full wipeout, and the Bloodthirsty Kings will secure victory in game number 2 to even out this series against Cloud9. A full decoding and a flawless victory.
All right, Weezy, feels like every time we... I love Zane coming up to the camera real quick. look at this guy. He knows. He's watching. He's like, I'm watching you guys. I see you, Zane. I see you. Now, I feel like Zane, Hoon, and Shark really... Zane, Hoon, and Fried Chicken really stepped up their game that time. All of them, I think, going deathless in that match. All of them holding down the front lines. And even though Fried Chicken didn't get a whole bunch of kills, he got 8 assists, and he was continuously putting pressure onto Basic and the rest of the team.
Yeah, and that was just some great execution, right? I mean, it's like they went back to the drawing board and they found a whole nother answer for Cloud9, and they actually might have found the answer for Cloud9 with how well they performed right there. We got to see how Cloud9 kind of responds to this now, right? I mean, I don't think that even they expected such a domination from the Bloodthirsty Kings in game number 2. This kind of reminds me of week 2 of the regular season when both of these teams faced off. And even though it was 3-1, when me and you were casting together, there was multiple times when BTK was actually in the advantage, and we thought they were going to be able to close out the game, but they just weren't able to do it. It looks like they've learned from that mistake, and they were able to close it out this time. So I'm seeing a lot of improvement, and I'm looking forward to seeing both of these teams face off in the 3rd game.
Yeah, I think BTK learned from their lesson last time, and it's just told themselves, listen, if we got a big gold lead, if we're down to like that 2nd, 3rd Lord, we need to try to end game, right? We don't want to give Cloud9 the chance for them to, get enough control on the map where they can macro a little bit, get enough control on the map where they can push us back. And even with Zia makes a little mistake on that last engage there, right? He finally pops his I'm offended, doesn't connect onto anybody, and Cloud9 takes that moment to try to attack back. I'm sure we'll see it in the replays once we get to him, but there's a big moment that I want to kind of highlight there that BTK still kind of overcomes. And we're going to jump into these highlights. You can take us through some of the beginning, Weezy.
Yeah, just both sides clashing it out, but overall still working in the Bloodthirsty Kings' favor. We really didn't get to see best player get online with this Roger, who's supposed to be very early, super aggressive, but not able to find the opportunity. Shark, there it goes. The way the Dragon setups were just very hard to deal with, on top of having this Phobius pickup by Fried Chicken. There goes another way of the Dragon. It's just a full Shark highlight montage right now for game number 2. Every time he got a setup with the way of the Dragon, it led to a kill.
Yeah, and the fact that they bullied down on the Nats so much that game completely nullified the front line that C9 wanted to bring, was just huge. Zia does. I think this is his only death, but even here, look how long he survives for 4 members of Cloud9 on top of him, and Hoon also. But here we go. I'm pretty sure Zia, he had just used his I'm offended right there, missed, and this is when Cloud9 jumps on him. They do get the kill, but then the rest of BTK responds back. A big way of the Dragon, able to get the kill onto best player there. Fried Chicken starts popping off, and even though Basic is getting a bunch of free shots, it's just not enough, and Fried Chicken is just ult, demonic force, demonic force, demonic force, and there was just no answer for the tankiness and damage that BTK brought to those fights.
I'll tell you what, nothing's more satisfying than using a Phobius with a demonic force, man. It's like a slam dunk cam on repeat. But, something that you did make a point on was Nats in that game. We just didn't really get to see him show up and get very comfortable like we've seen in the regular season or even in game number 1. On the glue, it just didn't really hit like I think he expected it to, and it got Chicken to be able to get online very early and be very effective. So I'm starting to think that their game plan is to get Nats uncomfortable, as he's possibly the momentum driver for the side of Cloud9, but we're going to have to see how Cloud9 responds to this. Now they are first in the draft. You're seeing the Belleric
they better
banned out here, which is a little interesting. But yeah, I would have said maybe a chip ban maybe on the way. There's still assassins on the table, though. I mean, you still have the Nolan, which could be working their favor. The Hayabusa is still up for grabs. The Julian maybe picked up again for the 3rd time for the Bloodthirsty Kings.
All right, so BTK switch it up from game one. This time they are back on red side. So far, it's 100% to the blue side. If BTK wants to win this best of 5, they need to win a red side match, right? They have to, at some point, win out on this red side. Let's see if this one's the possibility. With Chip being out, C9 first pick, do they lock in that Valentina again? It seems to be kind of a comfort pick for them. Or do they go for the Ruby? Because right now, it is a power play for both teams.
I would definitely go for the Ruby. I feel like just the fact that it can be flexed into 3 different roles has been huge. This is another big pick, though, that was a problem. The Jushin has been such a threat with Cloud9. I feel like that was one of the reasons why they were able to secure game number 1. Just the pressure from Marcuti. We didn't really get to see Hoon get comfortable going up against it. So they are going to have to watch out for that. But that allows a lot of picks to be slotted in for BTK. They could pick up the Phobius again alongside the Ruby. They could get their Julian here. And I don't think best player is going to take the Julian, so I don't know if they're really going to prio it here. I would definitely go in possibly for the Ruby and the Phobius play, or even the Khalid. But I don't know. You know what I'm noticing? The Khalid's not banned out, but it's also not picked. And I think it's just research based on
There's something we don't know.
No, we know because like yesterday, we got to see a lot of counters to it. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities, and they're not going to even take the risk on top of that. There goes the Phobius pickup, and here's the Mathilda that I expected to see a lot during the playoffs, but this is a debut.
Yeah, what I like about this Matilda, too, especially against the Jushin, is you have a lot more ability to kind of dance in and out. You have the ability to get your team away from that Lantern Flare, and you're able to kind of get around the zoning that Marcuti wants to bring in. This is what I was worried about. You said the best player might not pick the Julian, but I had a feeling we might see it, honestly, because I'm like, well, they keep on banning out best player. Mobazane keeps picking Julian. Why not just take the Julian?
Man.
And now BTK is like, okay, what do we go for? They still have the Bane, maybe a possibility, but a nice Cho pick. Because I was thinking, in my mind, I'm like, all right, what could BTK pick? They went for the Matilda instead, but C9 kind of flipping the script on him right now.
Man, best player, if you don't let this man pick up his Julian, this should just be illegal right now. But yeah, they're gonna go ahead and deny it. I mean, hey, it works almost as effectively as a ban does. If you can't ban it, just pick it. But that's gonna force Zane to pick up the Nolan here, or the Bane pickup, possibly on the way before they do jump into the second phase of the draft. There goes the Bane pickup right there. A debut Bane on top of that, so we're excited to see it nonetheless. But there has been a threat, and that has been this Cho. We've just seen it work out so well. This time it's going to be Cold using the Cho, not Shark, so we'll be able to see if he can get the job done as well with the way the Dragon plays. But I'm liking the way the draft looks for both sides. You're looking at BTK. You have a Bane. It's very push-oriented. You're able to burst down these turrets with ease. You're able to rotate across the map. You have a little bit of a range with the Crab Claw Cannon and on top of that. And then, hey, when things get a little tricky, even when you can be overly aggressive, you have a Mathilda to get you back to safety with the guiding win.
So, I mean, there's so much matchups between these two teams. It's like so many players fighting to be like, I'm the #1 in NA. Even between Cold World and Shark at this point, the Cho going back and forth. We saw Cold World play an amazing Cho last week against BTK. So we know he's got that way of the dragon. He's got the moves and grooves on him, man. On the side of C9, I think, do they ban out the Ruby here, right? Do they ban out? Because the Ruby could be a beautiful answer to the Cho here. Could be a good answer to the Julian as well. Ruby gold lane could definitely be solid. A little bit more boxing around Mobazane on this Bane, because Mobazane's definitely going to be a prime target. You don't get any flickers on the Bane, right? You're forced with the Retchery. You're not a very movable. Yes, you have the Deadly Catch to disengage, but when you have so many things to kind of counter you, like the Cho, like the Jushin, the Zone, to just kite, you have a lot of things that can give Mobazane trouble here. I think they need a little more protection on him.
They could throw the Ruby in there. I think it would be, if they want to play for the survivability aspect, it definitely can work in their favor. But if they want to throw in something that has a little bit more push potential, they could also throw in the Claude. I mean, especially up against a dive-oriented composition. You have the Cho who's going to rush in with the way of the Dragon. You have the BMI to be able to get back to safety. I think both of them are excellent reads. I do think that the Ruby could be huge here, though, because they are lacking in the crowd control department. But there goes the Ruby ban out, so they aren't going to be able to slot that in for game number 3. But there's still a lot of marksmen on the table. Actually, every single marksman is up for grabs right now. And BTK has prio to be able to decide exactly what they want to do with that. We got to see what the plan is, though, for Cloud9, right? We saw Chicken. He was on fire with this Phobius, and he just didn't show up, at least for game number 2. The glue did not work the way I think he thought it would work up against the Phobius, and I think he picked it because it would be a potential counter. So now we got to see what's his response for game number 3. Does he have an answer for Chicken on the Phobius?
I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one, right? I think the Phobius is a power hitter, and with the Gatot, the high-low, so many things being gone, the Ruby gone. I mean, Nats could still go for something comforting, you know, like the Khalid, go for something comforting, like the Arlot, something that can maybe bully around Mobazane again. Hoon, though, picks up this Eve pick, and he seems to be one of the only mages in NACT right now going for it. But again, with the composition that BTK wants to bring here, having all these physical hitters, the Eve can set up the box, and BTK just plays in it. There goes the Khalid pick for C9. All they need now is their gold laner.
The Khalid is back in action, and what better way to fight it out than against a Phobius? There's going to be fireworks inside of the XP lane for game number 3. Nats didn't show up, but this time he's going to have a little bit of a heavier hitter on his side. I can't wait to see how that engagement goes between both of North America's finest XP laners. There goes the Claude we talked about. This is going to go to the side of Cloud9, and I feel like the reason for that is there's 2 reasons for that. One is to deny Cloud9 or BTK from being able to pick that up. 2 is to be able to use the BMI to get back to safety, especially when you have the RWM dropping down from Hoon. You know that entire grid square, it can lock you down with the crowd control and can be very hard to get out of. So a marksman that can play for survivability is going to be huge here. And BTK, they're going to do the same thing. Just like Claude with the survivability with the BMI, you have the entropy from this Natan to be able to get back to safety as well. So this is some really good matchups. The gold lane's going to be great, and the XP lane matchup's going to be great. We got to see how both of these sides play it out.
Yeah, I do really like Cloud9's draft here. I think the Khalid, the Raging Sandstorm, could be very scary against Hoon, could be very scary against Mobazane, against this big clumped up composition that BTK wants to bring. BTK, on the other hand, even now with the Natan, a very late game hero, the Bane, pretty late game. Yes, there is some potential that if they get a couple kills early on, as BTK likes to do, they can put themselves in an early start. But overall, Cloud9, this composition from them just feels very Cloud9. You know, like basic gets the Claude. You have the Assassin on best player. You have you have a very fast moving hero for Nats, very all over the map. It feels like what they normally like to bring.
We're going to see which team will be able to execute their composition according to plan as we jump into game number 3 for the upper bracket finals of the North America Challenger Tournament. Who will be able to take this series in their favor?
Definitely going to be up on the map. Cloud9 with Cold War on the show. I mean, just overall with a lot of Cloud9 picks, it's very fast moving, heavy rotations, lots of zoning, lots of single target pressure. I mean, just Cloud9 has definitely, I feel like, brought a pretty scary composition. BTK does have answers, though, so let's see exactly how it plays out.
Yeah, they definitely have answers, but I'm right with you. Cloud9 can be very aggressive a lot earlier than BTK can. You're going to have to wait for Zia to get online with this Natan. But they have a lot of survivability working inside of BTK's favor, speaking of survivability.
Bro, it doesn't matter who's on the show, right? It is just a pain. It doesn't matter who it is. It is a pain. BTK forced to kind of take the long route. Hoon hovering down in the mid side. Let's take a look at some of the emblems. Nothing too crazy across the map. Everything pretty basic. And overall, no big off-lane ganks just yet.
Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary so far. You've seen the quantum charges picked up as well for more maneuverability and movement speed from Zia, and as well as basic. Right now, though, I mean, Cloud9, I wonder how the first turtle is going to come into effect, right? I mean, they do have a more aggressive composition, but Zane, he has range. He's running on this Bane and is very objective focused, not to mention they have the sustainability from Shark on the Matilda.
Yeah, with the Matilda, they have a lot of ways to at least engage and disengage, which I think will be very helpful with kind of getting out of this Lantern Flare, with getting away from the Khalid, with dodging away from the Cho. There's definitely the possibilities there, but here comes a big engage. Down comes real world manipulation. Nats, both caught in a best player, able to get that turtle, and now Hoon a little bit of trouble. Way the Dragon does connect, brings him back, and Hoon goes down. First blood over to Nats.
Ooh, that's going to hurt Hoon a lot. And now the invasion play on the purple buff.
Uh-oh, a lot of damage. Does lock on to Mobazane. Mobazane trying to fight back, though. Waiting for the crab clock landing to come out. Purple buff does look like it goes over to Mobazane there. Yes, he is able to just secure it. Best player now in a little bit of trouble as Fried Chicken brings down the demonic force. More damage stacking on. Fried Chicken trying to chase as well, but he does not have the circling eagle, so they can't get the full engage.
The sidestep from Nas right there, barely evading Fried Chicken on the escape and also helping Kite and bring back members to safety as best player was in a little bit of a pinnacle right there. Right now, 1 kill on the board for Cloud9 and also a turtle to work in their favor. Definitely a different story from game number 1. I mean, even when we saw the in-game stats, there was 11 objectives to 0 in BTK's favor. And now it's starting to look like Cloud9 is starting to get a little bit more composure as we jump into game number 3. As we've seen some of the items on the board, nothing really hot and heavy right now. You are going to see the Elegant Gem picked up by the Juicin, though. A lot of mana regen can definitely work in his favor to be able to sustain himself in this fight. There goes the Feather of Heaven, though. First core item picked up over there by Zia on the bot side, who is slightly behind in the economy compared to Basic on this Claude, as you are seeing him definitely not afraid to take the fight and go the distance with the survivability.
Ooh, look at the damage on a Mobazane, though. Best player. And Nats paired up with a Raging Sandstorm. BTK definitely falling behind in the early phase, and this was the worry with their composition. It definitely feels late game. At this point, BTK needs to just kind of hang on. Wait for the spikes to hit. Wait till Mobazane is actually outputting the damage. Wait until Z is outputting the damage. Basic definitely in control of the gold lane. More damage, though, locking on in this EXP side. Fried Chicken and Shark, man, are going to kind of have to, I think, be the pillars here to help BTK sustain the punches that Cloud9 wants to bring.
Yeah, speaking of punches, the battle for the turtle on the way.
Yeah, turtle is brought low. Best player still able to secure. The RWN does drop, and C9 just disengages. We don't care about it. Again, C9, when they're in the lead like this, they don't want to take the big fights. They want to take the objectives.
Yeah, and that is exactly what they're doing right now. 2 turtles on their side, 2 kills as well. Even though they're not having a high kill game, we know just how impactful these small victories can be, and Cloud9 definitely comfortable right now for game number 3. We need to see how BTK responds. At least one thing that works in the BloodThirstyKings' favor is they have a late game composition. But Cloud9, they understand that, and they're going to be aggressive. They're going to harass Mobazane. They're going to try and deny every single objective from being claimed to get an early finish.
And they're able to do that, right? Especially with Cold World on the show. They're able to stay in BTK's face. And even if they don't take the orange buff, even if they don't take the purple buff from Mobazane, they still slow him down. And with that, we're seeing best player being 3 levels ahead of Mobazane right now. We're seeing him holding a decent gold lead. We're seeing Cloud9 starting to escape. We are coming down to the 6-7 minute mark. BTK will hit a power spike at some point. Cloud9 wants to stop it. A lot of damage, enhanced chains, big knockup. Zane goes down first. Fried Chicken now also in trouble, brings out the demonic force, trying to survive, trying to hang on, trying to do anything, but best player still secures the double kill. And now Cloud9 onto the tier 3 tower.
A big win in Cloud9's book right there. Able to shut down Mobazane. He's finding his 2nd death of this game. Chicken, that will be his 1st as well. Hoon falling even earlier in the match. This is going to delay that late game power spike that BTK is kind of leaning in on, and it's going to keep checking off these objectives for the side of Cloud9 for a possible early finish if they're not careful. Mobazane now going to try and get this purple buff. Look at Nats, he's just harassing, just providing that pressure. Basic able to take the tier 3 turret on the top side, leaving only the tier 3 in the mid for the taking. Right now, it's just a game of chess, and it's looking like Cloud9 is 1 step ahead of the BloodThirstyKings, and it's very hard for them to take these fights, right? I mean, they're super aggressive. They're dive oriented, but they also have a lot of mobility. Not with Cho into the hands of Cold World, with Basic on the BMI, with Nas able to use that sand in his favor. It's a hard team to catch out of position, and they don't really have heavy crowd control to work in their favor for BTK.
And another big problem, right? That Jushin, man. That Jushin, that Lantern Flare is the bane of Bane's existence right now. Because normally Bane does okay on some of those turtles. He's able to sit up, wait to pop off that deadly catch right before it's time to hit the retry. And here comes Cold World, though, with a beautiful way the Dragon paired up with a Raging Sandstorm into the tower, and best player gets another kill, plus a tower. And now Shark, Fried Chicken, Hoon just want to defend, but C9 already output the damage. And look at Basic already up to the top side. Nats, though, takes a nice shot from Mobazane, but Mobazane doesn't overcommit, cannot get the kill.
Yeah, and another turret will fall. Basic takes the tier 2 on the top side. Overall, Cloud9 will win that trade, but they lose the tier 3 on the bottom.
Oh, Mobazane in trouble. Does bite the dust on that one. Basic pops off the Blazing Duet just to make sure there's no escape. Minions will be coming soon, and Cloud9 are not letting up on the gas.
Yeah, Zane now 0-3-0, off to a rough start. Hoon right behind him, 0-2-0. BTK yet to put a kill on the board or claim a single objective. -1 turret in this entire game. Starlight Requiem picked up by Zia as well. This has just been such a great game for Cloud9. Picking up Zane's Julian and using it against him. Best player. Looking like going for that MVP. 4-0-2. Highest kills in the game and outscaling Zane up by 3 levels. You're looking at a gold difference of 8,000 at the 8-minute mark. That's like 1,000 gold per minute.
And Basic just finished the Trinity build, right? Just got in that Corrosion Scythe, went for it as his third. And with that, Basic is going to start. I mean, it's been more of a best player, Marcuti, Cold World, Nats. Now Basic really starts to get involved in this. He's going to be the one who can really shred down Fried Chicken here. He's going to be the one who can really help out in a lot of these fights. And BTK is getting put more into a corner. We're still waiting on Zia to come online. He's got the Starlium Scythe in, Feather of Heaven, but I still think he needs about 1, maybe even 2 more items, because by the time he gets 3, everyone else on Cloud9 is going to have 4 or 5. So it's going to be a while until Zia can really output what they need him to.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a rough game for the side of the Bloodthirsty Kings. Forced down to their inhibitor turrets. We haven't even passed the 10-minute mark, and Cloud9 has responded very strong to their performance in game number 2 with BTK's domination. It's been a match of ping pong between both sides, but with this Lord now marching through the mid lane, it's an opportunity for Cloud9 to make this base be opened in their favor. You're looking at BTK trying to defend, trying to hold them off, but can they do it?
I don't know. BTK is pushed up against the wall. Cold World goes in for the big kick, able to lock on. Mobazane goes down. He's the first to drop. Hoon finds Cold World. It's a 1-for-1. Lord still on the tower. Inhibitor still up, though. Cloud9 tries to re-switch, rewind, move up to the top side. Best player able to find the inhibitor. Now BTK under the base. And as we know, C9 might not back off just yet. Another wave of minions coming down the mid. Fried Chicken holding the front. Nats does not have the Raging Sandstorm, so BTK doesn't have to watch out for that just yet. Basic going to the backside with a Blazing Duet. Outputting the damage on a Fried Chicken. BMI's back, and another one goes down. It's Shark on the block. Nats now moving in. Mobazane back up onto the map to help defend. Mobazane should be able to clear away these waves. Cloud9 might not be able to end it just yet, but if they can get another inhibitor, it is a big plus. Are they staying too long? They're all able to dodge the deadly catch. Fried Chicken finally gets rid of this cannon minion, and BTK are here for another day.
No, but minions are still coming in. Cloud9 is not done yet.
Now watch for Cold World. He does have the Way of the Dragon in his pocket right now. One big pick could be the game changer. One big kick could change it all. Cold World does have to go back. A little bit too much damage. BTK finally starting to output a little bit.
All right, this is that late game that we're starting to see, right? We're only at the 10-minute mark, but they're starting to be able to do a little bit of damage. Yeah, you are going to see that Feather Heaven, Starlight Requiem, Arcane Boots picked up over there by Zia. Man, this is a battle that BTK will have to fight. They need to find a way to turn this around. They're only holding on to an inhibitor on the bot side. 11 minutes in. Cloud9 off to a great way to keep this series in their favor, regain their control after being dominated in game number 2. Basic, we talked about a ticking time bomb on this Claude. He's got that core Trinity build. He's definitely going to be hitting like a truck. And that's something that BTK is going to have to watch out for. Zia just a little bit behind him in terms of the economy. But you are looking at best player. He's already level 15, highest in the game. Zane right behind him at 13. Right now, though, they're forced into the base. I don't even think they could really engage on this next Lord. It'd be a very risky play if they decide to. And right now, you're seeing them kind of hugging the base. You're seeing Cloud9 rotating toward the Lord pit. And the lane's currently still in Cloud9's favor.
I like the way the Cloud9 is freezing up the lanes, though, right? It helps them, stop BTK from getting a little bit more gold. They're going to rush down on this Lord now. And BTK can't even really contest it. And look at Basic, man. He's like, I'm just going to hang out here, get my stacks up, get my passive stacks up, keep on first skilling this creep camp right here. And when it's time, I will be ready to clear out the waves and make this big attack.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Zia. Like, Zia is really going to have to get online and fast. They're running out of time and options and insurance, considering they only have one inhibitor turret. But this is the Bloodthirsty Kings we're talking about, right? I mean, if Zia can start hitting, that's when it's going to be a problem. And that's something that Cloud9 does not want to take lightly. And then on top of that, the heals from Shark are going to start to pick up. But with a Luminous Lord on the side of Cloud9 and the lanes currently synced in the full 5-man team push, Cloud9's looking to close this out at the 13-minute mark.
Watch for the big Raging Sandstorm from Nats. Does not fully connect, though. The RWM does come out with the Lord already onto the base. They got to stop Basic. They got to stop Cold World. They got to stop Cloud9. But they can't. Cloud9 takes game number 3.
And able to advance even further in this series, now up 2-1 against the Bloodthirsty Kings. They said don't count them out just yet. In game number 2, we didn't have a plan, but game number 3, we came prepared. 9-2-23 on the KDA, but overall the objectives is what we want to focus on. They were able to take pretty much everything with ease and shut down BTK for game number 3.
Yeah, I feel like, as we've gone back and forth, all 3 games have just kind of been a stomp for the winning team, and this time C9 are the ones with their boots on, right? Taking a look at Nats, taking a look at Basic. I mean, taking a look at everyone on the team. They all played phenomenal, but once again, best player goes 5-0-3, and when best player is having a good game, his team's having a good game. And the same can be said for BTK. Last time when mobilelegendsgame was having a good game, his team was having a good game. So a lot of this coming down to a battle of the junglers. Who can get one that can hang out in the fray and make sure they get these retries off?
Yeah, it really is just boiling down to who can get these turtles and who can get these buffs. Who can be more on the invasion side and not the reactionary side trying to defend. It's like the offense is what's kind of shining more.